Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Black, Never Broken, Always Empowered. I am Brittany, joined by my co-host Rich. What's good?
Gang.
And we are being joined by our guest today, Howard. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It's happening.
Of
It's happening.
course. So we start off with a mental health check-in. How you feeling? How's your week been? I'm gonna start with our guest, Howard. How you feeling?
I'm feeling fairly well. Again, learning so much about fatherhood. I'm going to have my first child in February, so that's been again.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited. So, yeah, just ready for the next phase of the mission of fatherhood. Been getting myself prepared a while. Again, being an entrepreneur, so it's a few things, but I'm great in good spirits and positivity. So, thank you.
February. Do you know what the gender yet?
Not yet. So we find out in a couple weeks. So again, I'm hoping for little girl, daddy's little girl. That was always my goal to have that. I want to heir to the throne after that. So he's coming.
Feel that.
Say right now, daddy's little girl is definitely a real thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's different. I'll cuss my son out left and right, but the little one, she just congrats.
Rich, what's good? How's your day?
I am doing good. Nothing really new outside of adding more clients to RDI, making sure people get their credit fixed and everything is done the right way, making sure that they good. Other than that, it's same old day.
Business as usual.
Business as usual. Make sure people get checks, and and everything else.
That's what's up. Yeah, same here. It's been a pretty chill, more or less chill day. I've been doing meetings, being a business lady, and yeah, the only remarkable thing about my day wasn't even my day. It was Jamal's day. He had his first day at work. They told him to come in at noon. He sat outside for an hour and 15 minutes before they opened the door for a delivery.
Oh.
And so he called me. He's like, "Fuck this! I'm leaving." Da 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 da.
You started.
No, but look. So he called, and I was like, "Well," he's like, "The owner opened the door for a delivery, but nobody came to the door when I was there."
That's
so I was
wild.
like, "Then you need to go back and tell the owner that respectfully you're going to decline the job, but let me tell you why you need employees because this is, you know what I mean? Like, let me inform you that this
So
is
you quit before you even started?
He didn't. He talked to the owner. The owner apologized. The issue is, first of all, I hate that it's a Black-owned business and there's issues associated with that. Lack of communication. So the manager and the chef told him to come in at 12. Did not communicate that to the owner, who was the one there at 12.
Wow.
So he wasn't expecting anyone. They didn't tell him to come to the back door. They don't open the front door usually because they're not open yet. And if you open the front door, you have people trying to come in. So it's just a lack of communication. They were all apologetic, but it was just very unprofessional. Very unprofessional.
What I will say is as unfortunate as that was, we have to remember to always extend Black companies the same patience we would white companies.
No, I agree.
A lot of people expect Black-owned businesses to just be like, boom, right there, best service, best this, best that. But go to Walmart. Walmart will fuck up their shit left and right, and it will always go back. McDonald's gets your order wrong every time you go, and every day you go to it. A Black-owned business will get it wrong once, and you will fucking defame them. That's why I don't like Black-owned businesses.
Right? Yeah, no, I get that.
So
and that's why I was saying,
let's just make sure we extend them the same kind of leniency.
Absolutely. That's why I was like, I hate that it is, like there was an issue and it is, because it's like, come on, y'all.
I mean, that's understandable. I mean, for me, I'll just say that we do need to revitalize or revamp the standard of Black professionalism in our community. I'll just say that. One of my side gigs is a web developer and a graphic designer, and I work with 90% Black businesses. And when I can say the communication gaps and a lot of things are there systemically. So while I agree we got to show some grace, we need to hold ourselves to a little bit of a higher standard when it comes to how we interact as professionals.
Thank you too.
Absolutely. I agree. It's like you want to, you give them that leniency, you give them, you're patient with them. But at the end of the day, as Black people, we should, I'm not even going to say we should, we are always expected to perform at a higher level than our white counterparts.
For sure.
We have to. And upkeeping that standard, whilst it's stressful, it it's beneficial to
Ideally.
us as a community. So we just have to keep pushing and do 110% when we know Susie is doing 55 and is more
Yep.
successful.
World ain't fair, so we learned that
Yeah.
early on.
And it's the
Exactly.
same. It's the same with pricing. We'll go into a black-owned business and automatically complain at the price.
Yep.
And be like, oh my god, this is really expensive.
I
Like,
want a
why?
discount.
You're not Louis. You're not Gucci. Why is your prices so expensive? Well, one of the reasons is I'm trying to be like Louis and Gucci, which is why my
Hmm.
prices are this high. Authenticity, like this is an authentic brand. This is I
Right.
stand behind it,
Mhm.
and I don't get the same wholesale rates that the other people might get. So
Yep.
where Susie or Ling Ling, she'll go and she'll give them it's when they buy wholesale, she'll buy 10 t-shirts, she'll sell it for $8 to them. But when
Mhm.
I go to buy 10 t-shirts, she's not giving me $8. She's
Mhm.
gonna give me regular price, $16 for all eight. Pimp. You
Yep.
want you take it or leave it. And so now I've paid 16. Well, I have to make up the difference. I'm not doing this shit for free. I'm not in the business just to be in the business, and I'm damn sure not
Right.
here to break even. So
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was my day. Glad we had a whole great discussion about that, but that's not what we're here for. We are here to talk about Howard. Uh,
Thank
talk
you.
to and about. So if you would just like to introduce yourself,
Oh
tell
yeah,
us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
for sure. Well, my name is Howard Robinson. I'm hailing from the south side of Chicago. I don't call it Chirac, but some people call it that. Currently in Atlanta, Georgia. So migrated down to the A. I love it here. It's a lot better. The food, craziest drivers in the world, and gotta protect your car. But everything else is good. Besides that, everything else is fairly chill. What I'm doing right now, I'm currently the founder and CEO of my own ed tech organization called Gaming for Greatness, and we are VR leaders. So what I'm doing right now is working to create equity within STEM for our community and for communities that are at risk. So essentially, what we're doing is creating esports and STEM focused curriculums and programs that our community can use at an accessible price and accessible rate specifically. So we're using virtual reality technology to kind of reinvent the educational norm, just because, as you can see, there's so many ups and downs going on with educational curriculum right now. What you can say, what you can't say. So me, as going back, my background is in education. So I've been in education for about past 10 years. I've worked in various roles. My most recent role when so I hop in and out from entrepreneurship slash career and education. Just when I get tired of working with people, I say, all right, the contract's over. I'm going back to my own little cave. But when I do feel like dealing with people, I'm actually really good at working with the community. My last role, I was a site director for Black Girls Code in Atlanta, Georgia, so helping them direct their camp, working to see Black girls try to be Black youth, I should say, really aspire and grow within coding and help them with some potential as far as what they have available. Essentially, I'm just a nerd, a gamer who really found a way to turn that passion into something that I saw other students resonating with. In my time in education, me being a gamer, I can always talk about Fortnite or always tell a story of when I worked at a level 4 facility in the city in Minnesota where students were deemed too aggressive to be in schools because of behavior issues. I was one of the top counselors working with them, and it was based on those interpersonal skills, like realizing, hey, you seen that 2K game, or oh, Mr. Howard, I can bust you in 2K. No, you can't. Stop lying to yourself. So, like certain interactions that again we were able to create, and I want more of that. That really inspired me to try to create more representation as educators within the community, but also to open up the resources that we can give our community. So that's what I've been doing now. I just recently accepted into a tech accelerator program where I'll be working in Montgomery to help transition the business to the next phase. So yeah, I've just been carving out a path in VR, working. VR is a really interesting landscape. The most recent thing everyone heard about was the AI weird artist guy. That's a whole different topic. I have a great perspective on that because I actually work within the industry. So it's really interesting to see um, a white male create technology to emulate black culture for profit. And it took, I don't know how all the big wigs at Interscope were like, oh, this is a great idea. But no
Yeah.
but they have plenty of unsigned artists and plenty of talent within the metaverse and the general hip hop community who can do more. So that's essentially just what I'm doing. Just really trying to integrate STEM and esports to make it more viable for our community and show our community that it's a viable solution for careers and show the industry that we have a lot to offer. So,
all right, man, that sounds great, man. What for the music thing? The only way I would stand behind that is if we are contracting the people that make them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I make a virtual reality rapper and he's good and I'm doing it, and then you contract me to make more of those, that's when I'll be like, okay, I can see that happening. But music industries themselves, music company themselves, making them and then just signing their own artists like that way to get around having to sign actual artists and actual musicians, that I'm not okay with.
Yeah, so it wasn't only that, it's they definitely made him out to be a black, he kind of looked like 6ix9ine.
He looked like Trippie Redd.
Lil Pump,
little bit, all that. And they programmed him to say nigga. They programmed him to use like different rap lyrics as opposed to like like you said, either having someone make them and then, hiring that person, or actual artists being like, hey, turn me into a hologram. I'll do the rapping, I'll do the work. But I don't want to have to do the concerts or whatever it is. Turn me into that. Not
because then how do we
connect?
How do we connect with the artist? You know what I'm saying? How do we understand the artist's story as the rapper? Because that's what music is about. Music is about understanding the story and what's behind the story, who's behind the lyrics and stuff like that. We care about rappers because we believe that they rap and they live what they rap about.
For sure.
Right? When we know that they don't live what they rap about, we no longer care about them. And what they rap is meaningless. Right? So I believe you with AI, you're not going to get very far unless you sign the person that made it. And then you get their story behind it. Right?
I agree.
That's that.
I'll just say that I just find it really interesting that they chose hip hop, and like no one's talking about they chose our culture specifically. They could have programmed a country music AR artist. They could have
been a K-pop joint.
They could have done plenty of communities,
right?
But they just want one that says the N-word. So like again, that's another reason why I'm in tech as well too, because like they need people like me on that board to raise a hand. Like he said, what?
Right.
He doing?
And it's crazy that runs past so many people and they don't say an issue. There's not the janitor in the back didn't hear it and say nah. Like somebody.
Correction Officer Rick Ross Rich. I don't understand what he's in.
Officer Rick Ross Rich.
Yeah.
I don't know why you put that up.
Yeah.
Jamal, I'm gonna need you to explain yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. I'll just say anyone profiting off the culture specifically. Again, there should be at least some roots of.
Oh, I get what he's saying. He's saying because Rick Ross was a correctional officer and now he raps about no
one takes Rick Ross serious. Not a soul takes Rick Ross serious. Not a soul.
He's a black man too, so even if we don't legitimize his story, he has an experience that he can tell through his story.
But a lot of Rick Ross raps aren't really about personal experience. He raps about money, women, cars, things like that, right? So those are all rich people type of
right.
raps.
He says he's Pablo Escobar and he moving 50 keys across the boatload. Like
when he say that.
He did say a few of those, so I get that as well too. And I think there's a difference between the artistry of hip hop and then understanding the authenticity. And I think using AI just removes all of it completely. Like
Absolutely.
Even if you believe Rick Ross is out there and shipping keys, we understand that he might have been in that. Even if he's not in that environment, he understands that experience. So he might understand what it's like to be an outlaw. Even being a black man in America, you understand what it's like to be an outlaw. So in a sense, how you're viewed by society as an outliner. So just to expand on that. So
and it depends on if we know that you're putting on a different, like if we know that you play a different persona, then that's also different. You can't do it. But people that are in like trap rap, right? Trap music, you have to live what you rap about, or your credibility is shot.
Oh, for sure.
If T.I. didn't actually do the things that he rapped about, if Jeezy, Gucci, if they didn't live the life that they actually rapped about, then no one your story is now it's not credible anymore. Yeah. Drill music is based off of how you live your life. You cannot make a drill music AI rapper. You can't.
No, it's impossible.
What
Again,
is he doing? Is he shooting up the AI version of Chicago?
the server board.
Yeah, like robbing the circuit board. Like, what is he like? You can't do that.
No, that's
So
real.
that to me, that's where it comes. But question for you, Howard:
Mhm.
when you're making your software, when you're deciding what software to make and how to reach certain children,
Mhm.
what is your main focus point? Is it the individual, or are you trying to go like more broad?
For me, so we have something, excuse me, we have something called an urban focus curriculum where we're making curriculum particularly for those communities that we're working with. So instead of making a blanket national curriculum, because I've worked with, I'm not gonna name drop, I'm gonna get messy, but I've worked with some historically Black organizations based in Atlanta that have national budgets, and they paid me to review their curriculum. And I looked at it and I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like those children, excuse me, it was a local Boys and Girls Club in Philadelphia, and those children, they were from the inner city. They didn't even have laptops at home or functional Wi-Fi, but they wanted them to do 5 to 10 page papers and sit through a whole hour presentation. I said, so you're trying to set me up for failure, because they're going to have dead eyes. One, they're not going to, not to say that they can't comprehend, they're not going to understand why they're there. So we need to give them something that draws their attention, makes it interactive, that shows them how they can see themselves within the industry. So that's what I've been trying to show a lot of organizations, just because I've been in education and nonprofit game on a variety of levels. And I think kind of like, so individual community level is probably what I should say. So again, if I'm developing a program for inner city in Chicago, I know I need to heavily emphasize social emotional learning, because a lot of those students might have a lot of trauma due to gang and gun violence. Again, I know a lot of friends who've passed away to gang and gun violence. I personally have been in neighborhoods where some of these top drill rappers were from. So I understand the kind of trauma that these neighborhoods go through and how that can affect the educational process. So I believe the individual community focused approach is best. I'm not a fan of blanket terms, one size fits all. There are certain standards we can hit on, but I like to break it down to the community and try to see what they best need help with.
Chicago is definitely on my do not need to visit list.
I actually just got back from there for the first time in 2 years, and it's different. I can just say the feeling of being on edge is real. Like, you, whenever you're going through, that's the difference. I always say, people ask, what's the difference between Atlanta and Chicago? There's one key difference. You can go to downtown Atlanta and see a group of people, our people, and no one pays you any attention. They're just eating. You go to Chicago, no, we need to see you got people stopping to look at you, checking you out, not because, well, a few different reasons. You might be an op, you might be friends with an op, they might have seen you in one of the photos, or you look like somebody. So it's just like the level of tension on a day-to-day basis is so heightened in the city that
that's why I can't go. I can't go because I'm friends with somebody, or my friend is friends with somebody, and I just so happen to be there with him. Like, pimp, I came down to buy some shoes and go to the store.
It can happen like that.
And before I know it, the whole place is shot up. And I'm like, wait, this not so. And don't get me wrong, Chicago's not the only city where ignorant shit happens. Absolutely. Detroit is one of those ignorant cities.
Don't come from my city.
Detroit is one of those cities. Houston is definitely one of those cities where ignorant shit just happens. We couldn't even have a real Love and Hip Hop Houston because they stopped it before production even happened. They were shooting before production even happened.
I didn't even hear about that. Oh, wow.
Exactly. Because they were shooting before production even happened. So they ruined it before we even had the chance to get a good episode off. You know. So I understand that, but how do you determine, or do you, like, before you make a curriculum, do you go and maybe visit the city and stay there for a while, a month or two, before you say, okay, I kind of understand what the environment's like? Or do you do like pre-research before you go there? Or how does that work?
It's mainly a combination of a few different factors. One, on my familiarity with that community. Again, I've traveled for education. I've taught in Philadelphia, New York, Minnesota, California, and even South Africa. So I have a very, not to say that I know it all, but I have a very well-informed perspective on working with
South Africa. That's an interesting.
Oh yes, thank you. South Africa, I don't want to skip, but that really changed my perspective on what true poverty, but also what true hope looked like. Because working with students who had nothing and who had no shoes and were living in tent shacks like really changed my perspective as someone who came from the inner city. Family was on Section 8. I've been through the struggle. I know what it's
Right.
like to go without. But when you go to a different land and you see people that look just like you, who are hungry or appreciative over a bowl of porridge, that like it changed something inside of me that kind of shifted my view to kind of a
Yeah,
world.
yeah. Their without is on a whole nother level of stuff that you couldn't even fathom to
I
be
can't even
without.
complain. Like, I came back from college so chill. Like I was there. How you be stressed out about finals? No, I don't think I'm stressed out.
Right. Right.
Well, I'm okay. Look
It's gonna
around.
be, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
It is. But I was again. I actually made it through. But going back to the original question as well is I'd like to again do a little pre-research so understand and look at the community's demographics. Do you partner with other black organizations that tutor and help kids? Yes, for sure. I actually been working on a lot of partnerships with organizations within the Atlanta community. Contacted some of the local boys and girls clubs. There is some a national mentorship network I'm working with as well too. So I'm always open to try to find black organizations to either offer them mentorship or help them get into STEM. So that's again, I'm doing this for the community as well too. So I mean, just to answer that question. But yeah, so I actually like to do a little research to see like what are the demographics of the community, if they have high crime rates, and I have to see what schools are in the area. So do they have a lot of STEM schools? Do they have some STEM programs? Because a lot of gentrification is going on in our neighborhoods, particularly even mine, and that kind of changes what we can offer for good and bad. Good meaning that there are some places that have a lot of funding and technology. The bad is a lot of our students can't get in. So I just wanted to see where we can identify those areas where it might be gaps in accessibility for students. So that's probably my primary basis. I also have an anthropology major, so I do like a lot of research and kind of looking at the community and the trends and stuff like that too. So
How young are you?
I'm only 27, so again I'm 22.
That's incredible.
You've done all of this.
Uh,
You're only 27.
yes, 27 going on 35. I always say I always say I'm an
I
older
have been
soul.
fucking up. I've been wasting
Big
shit.
facts. Big facts. Life wasted.
I've wasted.
Everyone has
Just gone.
their
I've done nothing, virtually nothing compared to
everyone
this
has
man.
their own journey, and I just akin to that I give credit to all the educators in my life. This is probably the reason I'm in educating. I had professors. There's Professor Leslie James at DePaul University. He was a black man from the Caribbeans who ended up taking 5 or 6 of his courses, and he would talk. And just, I think role models really do matter. Like seeing someone as a child and that looks like you and speaks like you and understands your demographic, and seeing them in a position of education, for me, that helped inspire me because again, I'm from the south side of Chicago. All my friends were outside running around doing what they're doing. I chose to stay inside to read books. I didn't know later on that was my mom protecting me from the streets. I just thought that hey, I just had to go inside to read some books until I got older and start to realize. Like I just watched a recent documentary. I don't know if you ever heard of Trap Lord Ross, but he does documentaries on gang culture. He just did one recently on Chicago called No Limit. You know, G Herbo, if you heard of G Herbo No Limit, he always talked about the area he grew up in. I actually used to live on the same block radius as him and the rest of those young men growing up. But I left a few years later, and I always wondered why I couldn't go outside. I watched a documentary. Oh, that's why
That's what was happening.
that's why mom kept me in the house and I didn't do those things. So I just give credence to again the educators before me who really shown me that again there's a lot in this world for us and just gave me the confidence to keep going. So I really give credence to education. I know it's being looked upon because it's being twisted and conjoined in so many ways and agendas, but it really was something that really helped me elevate and aspire to do more. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with the whole having black teachers, having black, just what's the word I'm looking for? Having black role models in high
Right.
places. So, we're just kind of getting into the generation where you're seeing more black lawyers, you're seeing more just successful black business people for the children to look up to.
Mhm.
For me, I didn't have my first black teacher until 12th grade.
Mm.
So, and he still stands out to me just
Mhm.
because although he was like my math teacher or something in high school,
Mhm.
he was a mentor to me. I was able to come to him. I transferred. So my parents got divorced when I was like They got separated when I was like 16, 17. I went to private school from Montessori until 11th grade. And then my dad stopped paying my tuition. So I transferred to public school.
Mm.
First time in public school. The high school I went to was an all girls high school. So this is my first time being in a co ed high school, which is different than middle school, obviously, hormones and shit.
Yeah.
So when I got there, I was like, yo, I don't want to make friends. I just want to like get these grades and graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And he really was there as a mentor, someone I could talk to. He was just a really chill ass Black man. And I appreciated that. And to this day, 12th grade was years ago. But it still stands out.
So 12th grade was 21 years ago. That's what she
said. Oh no! Again, Black don't crack. I can't tell. So you're doing good. You're doing good.
Well, thank you.
For the audience in the podcast land, and audience, on freaking Spotify, all our audio listeners, she said 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want y'all to think of that.
Just want y'all to think of that. So yeah, that is extremely important in our youth. You had mentioned socio-emotional learning and working with children who are dealing with a lot. I think one of the main things you see in the Black community is us downplaying children's stress, downplaying, just their emotions as a whole. You don't know what stress is. You don't pay bills. You don't know what this is. And it's like, no, but they do. In their own world, they deal with that. Look at Rich. Yes, they do.
For sure.
Here's my thing, and I'm trying my best. I don't want to say I don't. I try my best not to diminish my children's feelings when it comes to things like paying rent and having somewhere to live and things like that. I completely listen to them when they talk about things on their level, their school. Like, hey, Dad, I want to wear this or wear that. Or, hey, Dad, what's this? And so I do that. But when they're like, oh, Dad, I'm stressed because, instead of eating, chicken nuggets from McDonald's every day that I really wanted, we had to eat at home and eat, this gourmet smothered chicken meal that my wife made tonight, which was delicious, by the fuck. Just like to point that out. So, baby, if you're watching, the mashed potatoes, fire. Smothered chicken, fire. And the corn.
Let's say the right things. 5-star. That's right.
So, but to me, I bear a lot on my shoulders, right? That's why these motherfuckers are so hard. I bear a lot, and so I kind of don't want to see my children moping or trying to take on what I'm bearing, right? So that's why I'm like, do you really know what it's like to not to worry about missing the light bill? Because it's not your burden to carry. You know what I'm saying? That's my burden to carry.
But a lot of parents do put that burden on their children.
Oh, well, they're assholes when they do that.
For sure. And I'll just say that that's again legitimate points, but again, childhood trauma is another thing. So stress and trauma aren't necessarily the same things. I know there are students who can be traumatized, again, for a variety of reasons. I know specifically both of my parents were affected by gun violence. So early on, and whenever it came to loud sounds, I wasn't able to be around them for a large period. And that kind of affected me, my developmental relationships with others, me not wanting to speak up. So I think for community, we just need to acknowledge that children can have trauma, but not necessarily try to coddle our children either. That's the thing. Like, I'm not about, again, if they come home and I got a D on my report card, I'm not going, if they crying about it, I'm going to say, hey, you need to study harder and do better. But if they're saying, hey, Mom, I'm feeling that I'm alone, or I feel like we're moving too much and I don't have any friends, then you need to be addressing the trauma that you're talking about.
I think that's a big thing, where especially their social life, because that's what children focus on mostly is their social life. Now, I already told my kids anything less than a B is unacceptable.
For sure.
Like, a B doesn't get you in trouble. A C and below gets you in trouble, right? And that's because I'm not saying my grandparents didn't have standards. They did, but I wish that their standards were just a little bit higher and just a little bit firmer when it came to education and grades, right? They had that on the discipline side. Like, hey, I don't care what you say. You will say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. You will treat everyone with respect. That standard was so high. But they were like, hey, look, man, you graduating? Shit, my boy. Like,
That's a good point.
but my kids won't. My kids are gonna have both ends very high. But I want to make sure I drive it without them being so
Yeah, yeah,
stressed, right?
yeah.
And
I get.
I'm gonna try my absolute best, which is why I moved back here so that my kids can make sure that, like, by the time they especially start middle school, high school, they stay in the same school. We don't move unless we absolutely have to, right? But even then, I try to keep you in the same school so that you keep that social life going, because that's where, believe it or not, where your life starts,
Yep.
right? I have friends from high school, one of my best friends since the 10th grade. And had we moved schools, who knows what my life would be like had I just moved to another school. So
Mhm.
I understand that. But to answer some of Jamal's questions, have I ever walked into a house with my lights out? Yes.
I have as well.
Have I ever opened up the fridge and have sleep for dinner? No. My grandmother and grandfather have always put, if we didn't have anything else, we had food, we had lights. I've adapted as a parent that very same mindset. At the end of the day, I tell my wife, at the end of the day, the three things we will have in this house: lights, food, Wi-Fi. Because Wi-Fi, and then I know people are like Wi-Fi is not important.
Important.
Really,
It is
Wi-Fi
important.
is very critical in any household.
Hmm.
Wi-Fi is very critical. One, it's entertainment to keep people from getting carpal tunnel and being house sick and just being in the house and just losing their goddamn minds. Right. So you need the internet, and then the internet functions on your day-to-day stuff. I can work from home if I have internet. I can do all kinds of stuff that I need to do if I have internet or Wi-Fi rather.
True.
So those are the three things that I wish my kids would never try to carry onto themselves. And then I just try to do things better as a parent, as a dad, than what my parents did. Obviously I can look at certain things and be like, well, that was just absolutely wrong. They shouldn't have done that. And then some things, you learn through trial and error.
For sure. And I think that's part of growing up is giving our parents that grace too. For our community is understanding that they were individuals who were, again, as we get older, they were trying to figure shit out just like we were. So and I think that's part of the growth experience as well too. Is like I think that's a lot of issue within our community, not making blanket statements, but we haven't necessarily reflected on what it was like or what our parents might have to endure. I think there's a lot of anger and trauma that adults carry over from childhood. This is why work is important. Because that trauma that you felt as a child can affect you as an adult, and you wonder why you can't emotionally connect with people. A lot of our community don't know these things. They just think, "Oh, I don't like people, or I'm this aggressive, or I don't like nobody." You might have a giant hole in your heart that you need to get some help with. And just saying, it usually starts with the childhood. I ain't trying to get too deep, but the childhood is a good place to start for anyone trying to do that inner work and trying to figure out how to be a better person, in my opinion. So.
No, absolutely. It definitely starts with your childhood. And we had someone on a little while ago who was saying how when adults are kind of quick to anger and are quick to be defensive, it's them protecting the hurt child inside of them. So when people are lashing out for no reason, it's because of childhood trauma. And we just kind of chalk them up to being an asshole. And it's like, no, they have healing to do, like deep rooted
And
healing.
but again, that depends. And I'm a motherfucker. You 35 and you still crying about some shit when you was 10. My boy, I'm gonna need you to. You know the steps now. You know to seek counseling. I'm gonna need you to go do that.
No, absolutely. I'm not saying
You're
it's
not
my
just
job to heal
expecting.
this man. I'm saying that's
You're
why,
not
or this
expecting
woman, but that's
rudeness.
how.
You
Right.
30. Some shit. I'm a bit.
You got to
The
be
way I
accountable.
grew,
I get that for sure. Accountability.
military lifestyle. Some shit, bro. You can just let go. Like some shit, you don't need to deal with that no more. Let that shit ride
Yes.
because it'll hurt you.
For sure. I surely agree. I think the biggest thing is making sure we at least address those issues to know what they are and then move on from them. But that's the thing as well, too. Like, I think within our community, I understand that a tough exterior is what's going to propel us and keep us safe. But again, when it comes to bonding with our children and bonding with others, we got to make sure that we don't have fortresses because we built walls upon trauma instead of tearing them down and doing the inner work. So I think it's like a fine line. Like again, as a man, again as a new father, I'm already thinking about my child and how I'm going to position myself and make sure that they're not wanting for anything. But as an educator, I can see how I see so many children who are come from broken homes or who sometimes lost hope and just need someone there to inspire and address and legitimize their feelings. So I think it's just we got to, as the community and as well and as parents, I think it's a little bit different because it's your child. So as a community, you got to do better at just making sure we acknowledge our children's and our own traumas. So,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Facts. Facts.
So, as far as your business goes, or your businesses and all the many things you have your hands in, what are your future plans? Where do you see that going?
Our plan is to go as big as possible. So, again, right now we're working. Again, I just got accepted into a tech accelerator program. So it's a 12-week program that's going to help me with my business, help me structure, and help set up a station in Alabama. So right now I'm working with I work with a lot of nonprofits because again things are expensive in these communities. So right now I'm working with a partner by the name of Smile Honey Child. The founder is Diavant, and we're working on doing a VR mobile outreach lab. So we're going to work on trying to bring the services to the students. So no matter where they're at the Boys and Girls Club, they're in class, we can give them the VR engagement without having to leave or having to worry about leaving or things of that nature. And the bigger goal is to have my own VR home tutoring so for students, because again, as we know, I always say within 5 years, parents aren't going to be sending their kids to school anymore, just for a variety of reasons. One, the danger. And that looks like the outside people losing their minds to the viruses that are floating around from whatever source that we believe they came from. So, like those different things are big reasons why, again, as a newly parent, I can see again virtual reality is one of the best ways that, as an educator, I've seen students engage. Literally, the biggest thing that educators have is students looking around the classroom and not dozing off or looking away. With this thing going, I've never had a problem with engagement. I've taught almost hundreds of students with this, and not once have I had to say, "Hey, pay attention." The worst
That's
thing
the Oculus.
this is the Oculus Meta Quest 2, one of the
Yeah.
newest ones on the market, the one that I use. And the biggest reason that I think it can change education is just because our biggest problem is getting kids out of it. So making sure they don't spend too much time in it, just because again, for shy reasons, for extraneous reasons, but it's not because they get bored or engagement. So I can take a simple math lesson about the body, and I can take a student inside the brain, and say, "Hey, here's the cerebellum, here's your cortex," in virtual reality. And for students who, like me, I wasn't a science person, but if you told me inside of a brain, I go inside in VR, I might be a little more interested, and that interest can turn into, well, let me start studying these science articles. Well, that turned into, I want to do an internship. So we're just really trying to, again, illuminate some of the pathways for our students by using VR as a creative way to kind of spark that creativity. So.
Yeah, I think that's super dope because during COVID, we, had our hand in attempting to homeschool. It was extremely frustrating.
Fucking
I can't imagine.
I failed.
I can't
I
imagine.
mean, failed. I think I was more aggravated than my son, and he was the one doing the damn classwork.
Yeah.
How I failed. But that's going to lead to my question. How do you believe that it will affect children's social habits and their social beings through virtual learning? And if if parents do choose to take their kids back home, I believe that was one of the biggest issues, especially not for my youngest son or my sons and my daughter who were in elementary school, but like I seen it with my sister. She missed her freshman year of high school due to virtual learning. And then her sophomore year, they go back to school, and she is it's shell shock to her because it's vastly different.
It's
How
high
do you
school.
think? Do you think there are any negative sides to VR, and how do we help fix those things?
Well, I think that's there is a negative for sure if done wrongly. So again, I think the negative side of VR is everyone turns into Ready Player One. Have you anyone seen that movie where the world is going to crap and people only strictly live in virtual reality for all aspects of their life? That is probably the worst because people have become accustomed to not interacting with humans. So what I'm doing, I already see that problem coming from a mile away, which is why I'm integrating the social emotional learning aspect of it. So we're going to be doing team-based activities. We're going to be learning, like I already give this example. Say a lot of kids like esports and RPG games. So there's a game called Zenith RPG where they have 3 classes and you can make giant clans. So me as an instructor, I can take 9 students, put them on 3 teams. You're the mage, you're the healer, you're the attacker, and I teach them how to work as a team to to go fight dragons, to go gain resources. So they're still at home, but they're still getting those core team skills that they can't get in person. And this opens up the pathway for students who may have disabilities. The only thing they need to use is their hands, because I've worked with students who are nonverbal who had disabilities as well too. And it sparked in my head that I can put them a part of a game or a classroom without any hop or skip. And we also have VR sports as well too. So a lot of students like myself, I wasn't a basketball team guy, I wasn't Kobe, but a lot of students play esports right now. So there are virtual reality games that students can play as groups. Like virtual reality, they got tennis, they got bowling, basketball. So not only are students being active, so one, we're addressing the fact of students being inside, not being active, because when you put this VR headset on, and you play a round of Apollo Creed boxing, I bet you your shirt's going to be drenched in sweat because that's real cardio. So we're having our students being engaged in real cardio activities while working with a team in a place that they're safe at. And I think that virtual reality allows us to do all those things.
Now, how do we make it affordable for low income areas? Because I know when it comes to you're gonna need high streaming internet for something at this capacity. Mm-hmm. I have multiple kids in the house, so if I have 5 kids all in school, a VR headset, I can't pay $250 per headset for kid. How do we make it affordable? Or is it possible to make it affordable?
I think the biggest thing is, well, at least what I want to do is that's why I'm working so hard to work with nonprofits in local areas is to get them. Because the thing with virtual reality is that we can use one headset or you can use 10 headsets for an entire school. Because again, the time that you want students in is no more than an hour and a half. Again, outside of sanitary, you just spray it with your disinfectant right and wipe it off, and the average cost is actually less than a full STEM lab. So as you can see, for this Oculus headset fully kitted, right now it's like 500. So they're not even, they have versions that are 250, but for what I program to, they're about $500 per headset, which for about 10 students, which is about 5,000 for a full course. But if you think about what a full tech lab looks like for STEM, some of the laptops alone are $2,500. So imagine you got 10 laptops and a smart projector in there. That's about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of equipment already for one computer lab. Compared to less than $10,000, you can have a full VR capable lab that allows you to code, that allows you to do graphic design, that allows you to do STEM and math activities. There's even a language learning program where students who can learn Spanish in virtual reality. So I think that our biggest thing is I love what I'm trying to do is trying to work with as many nonprofits to get them grants. I've literally written grants for nonprofits to say, hey, this is what just to help them get the funding. Even if you don't work with my organization, I want you in this community to get the funding. So I think it's really about getting that buy-in from larger investors, as far as Black academics in our community and just corporate sponsors. So not to say that we don't have our own ecosystem, but the more we can show these big corporations and these big tech companies that our community has viable talent and that there's a need for these kind of programs and there's a market for it, then the money will start to come. So there are a lot of individuals like myself who are championing and pioneering the new virtual reality to make it more diverse. So I think it's a creative ways. Again, it's already a little bit lower than traditional STEM activities, but again, like you said, every community isn't going to be able to afford that. Some people can't even afford the equipment for sports teams. So how are we going to try to make them pay a $500 goal? But if we're able to donate 10 to 20 VR headsets to a school or to a nonprofit organization, then we can make it a little bit more easier until VR becomes a lot more cheaper. Now, if you go in future tense, maybe 5-10 years, these glasses want to be able to do the same thing this headset does. I work in tech and IT. It's a little scary sometimes, but I like to stay on the positive side. I always say I'm trying to stop the matrix before it gets too crazy. So again, I ain't saying I'm Neo, but I'm in there for our people coding it up, trying to make sure we don't go to Skynet. So
I would just like to point out that they said in 2000 we'd have flying cars. So we're not there yet. I definitely believe we're still going to be behind the Powerball on technology.
Do we need flying drive-bys? They can keep that one. I don't need nobody. I don't need no hitters spinning the block. I'm good.
Right, looking through your window.
I never even thought of that.
They can keep that. We need a little more time.
Right. Absolutely. We have so many more issues to address before we get flying cars.
Right. And I might have missed it. You might have said it. Mm-hmm. But what led you to start this? Like, how did you get, like, what you said, you know what, I want to do this? in what you're doing. Did we ask that question?
No, I
We
don't
didn't
think so.
ask. So.
Okay, let's answer that. We done got into a whole conversation. And
Right.
Yeah.
45
When did
minutes
you
in.
want to
So
do it?
what made you start?
Well, I originally started with Gaming for Greatness, which was an original business where I wanted to do esports. So I was helping organize esports tournaments, trying to find black talent within the esports community. And me just being a tech guy, I was just sitting around. I'm like, "Ooh, I like this. I like VR." And I put this headset on, and as I was playing games and I was going through the app store, my educator brain got the tick, and I was, wait a minute, this is National Geographic. I can do art classes in this. I was, wait a minute, how is anyone doing this kind of programming yet? Nope. Well, we need to. So literally how it's like my brain that started like got it clicking like the little meme where dots start going together. I'm, wait a minute, I can teach children virtually, have them engage, and it's fun, and it's not, and it's still important to what they're trying to get as far as careers. That's what really started it. So honestly, just putting the headset on and experimenting with it, really, like, I created a full program after that, and also with the help of my nonprofit partner who really gave me the inspiration to say this is something that we can use to help the larger community. So it really was the headset. I put it on, and ever since then it's been an entire new wave. So
Now, more on the business side of it, what is the startup for something like this? How did you come about being able to fund some of the things that you've done?
well, again, we're in the process. We're very early startup phase as well too, which is why we're in the accelerator program. So after the 12-week accelerator program, we'll officially launch our full program again within the community. So again, I've worked as a VR instructor for different programs. Like my nonprofit partner, she's already got 10 headsets, and she donated those to 10 homeless youth. So she did an art therapy program, a summer camp with them, and I helped her come up with some of the curriculum and help her work out some of the logistics as well too. But again, I'm a self-funded business. Again, I don't have a trust fund. I don't have a group of investors that got 100K. I have my headset, laptop, my design skills, and my networking skills. But that's literally all I needed. That's all I needed. But through diligence and powers of networking, I've been able to find partners to position myself by the end of the year to start doing some of that real implementation. So not there yet, but again, about 75%, just trying to put all the pieces together now.
Okay. So you're not even at the funding phase yet.
We Yes and no. Just because again, like this industry is again it's technology. So right now I'm having small conversation with a group of investors for less how can we as a community help you? Well, yeah, you can always go to www.wearevrleaders.com. We're actually going to be a part of a crowd fund within a week or two, where we're going to be trying to raise some funds with different partners.
I'm typing it in now.
Yeah, crowdfunding is definitely a good way to go.
That's one of the best ways we're trying to do, is trying to integrate some of that funding back into the community. Again, what was the original question? I'm sorry, I got distracted by
the original question was were you at the funding stage?
Okay.
Yeah, or not?
I mean, so we are having those conversations, but again, I can just say that I'm a creative. Like you see all art and IT. I am not the most business savvy as far as those logistics. So it's why I'm building my team. Currently, we have fielded some investors conversations, but I know what I don't know. So any investment we're talking about is under 50K. But after my accelerator program, again, based on market evaluations, people are getting $1.5 to $5 million deals for some of these organizations. So again, I ain't saying I'm trying to be Elon Musk, but he might have some competition for our community real soon. So I'm just taking my time to position myself so we can go after those big bucks, so we can make the biggest impact possible. And there have been some smaller conversations, but right now we're relying on grants, trying to help the communities get that going. Then we can kind of catapult from there and continue working. So.
Right. Okay.
It's funny because my wonderful husband asked the question I was going to ask next, which is how we could help support you to get you to the next step. So, all right. And that's why we're married.
Well, yeah, again, I'm always again Instagram too as well, at We Are VR Leaders, or my personal one is at The Gamer for Greatness. So again, people can always follow mainly the website and our Instagram for more updates. Anyone on LinkedIn as well too can search me up, Howard Robinson. I love to connect with anyone. I'm always giving out tips. I'll just say use LinkedIn. LinkedIn has literally gotten me to places where my degree hasn't. People barely even know the name of my university, even though it's $60,000 a year. I was a posse scholar, so I didn't play that. And shout out Uncle Joe Biden, Uncle Joe Beasy for that 20K he done dropped on us. So that's all I say.
He ain't gave me nothing yet, so I ain't giving him nothing.
I'm waiting
Listen,
on and he just approved today, I guess.
listen, in my mind, this is good as done because listen, that's Uncle Joe Beasy. At first, he was Creepy Joe. Now he Uncle Joe Beasy to me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Again,
That's hilarious. Okay, sorry. I just got a text. My daughter's about to pull up. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. Distracted. But yeah, you're pretty awesome. I'm not gonna hold you. Give you your flowers. Thank you so much for joining us and to talk about what you're working on. It's a beautiful thing, like you said, Elon Musk. You coming for him?
Mark Zuckerberg too, telling him to stop
Right.
making it hard for us. But that selfie irritated me so bad. Come on, Zuck, just put me on the board so I can help you help the community. Because
he's not worried about helping our community. Let's keep it real.
He's
not worried about our
community. A huge believer in esports. Esports is definitely going to be the next wave of sports in general. It's already started with huge contracts with streamers like Ninja, and all these big guys, $26 million a year, contract. LeBron James' son signed to a 2K contract,
for sure.
So I believe that these are going to be the way. It's going to be the next way that gaming is going to go, and it's what's going to be able to save it. I do believe gaming is dying outside of esports, where people are going to get together with tournaments and host big things. I just believe gaming in itself is dying, and it's because of the generation behind us. They don't take our old school gaming as prevalent as VR, as doing things like that. They'd rather do that, or they'd rather just watch people play.
That's a big one too. Well, again, that's where we begin. If a student like to watch them, we're gonna turn them into content creators and streamers. So whatever they like, we monetize and help them with. But I agree that there's still a lot of room for growth for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, yeah. So our next episode Saturday, Shit Talk Saturday. Rich and I will be here talking shit about everything happening this week.
And we got a lot just through the first 3 days of the week.
I can only imagine.
That's what I said. I was like, gee, last week it was a little, but this week has been
right on point.
Busy.
Make sure to tune in and subscribe to me. If y'all see me in the chat with some questions, I'm gonna be in there throwing some little wrenches in it. I'll surely be able to be involved for sure. So thank you all for having me on for sure.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. But until Saturday, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically Black. Oh, Rich was supposed to say something about RDI and how they sponsor us, and can't help broke people being broke.
Like all episodes, is sponsored by RDI Financial. You can't help broke people being broke. That's the way of life. You can't help people with their issues when you yourself have that issue. So hit us up for those that need their credit fixed, repaired, or even just straight out built from the beginning. You hit up the folks at RDI. They'll get you in touch with me, and we'll get you going. Other than that, stay black, stay true, unapologetically. That was differently. Gang.
Gang.